Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Happy, what is it today? Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. And I just want to thank you for coming and joining us as we remember our really good friend, Sally Miller, who was a woman of faith, a woman who had that personal relationship with Hashem. And that's really what faith is. Just the deep kind of belief in Hashem when you have this relationship all the time, where you're talking to God as you go through your day. And when Hashem is your friend, and I don't mean that in a way that diminishes respect, but when Hashem is present in your life all the time, it changes a lot of the way you deal with things. It changes your attitude, and that's what we call Emunah. It's a very healthy thing, and that's we've been going through the medieval work called Shaar HaBitachon, the gate of trust in God. It's part of a bigger work called Chovos Halevavos, Duties of the Heart, by Ibn Pekuda. And we've been specifically piggybacking on a class that was taught by Rabbi Taub, who I studied his class, and it helped me prepare for my comments on this topic matter, which again, our friend Sally Miller so beautifully embodied. Faith. Why is faith? Why is trust in God and this relationship so crucial in our lives? The question has been explored using the foil of infinite money. Imagine you have infinite money. Wouldn't that be better than having faith? So the example that they used in the medieval era was an alchemist, somebody who could turn lead into gold and silver. If you could do that, then you could have infinite money. Today, you might think of the people that we might be jealous of. Elon Musk has infinite money. A movie star has infinite money. A sports, an NFL player, an NFL star has quote unquote infinite money. These people that we see, they were like, wow, the famous Tevye song, If I Was a Rich Man. But Tevye doesn't have a lack of faith. He's doing it from faith. He says, I still trust in you, Hashem, and it won't, but would it make it so much worse if I happen to be a wealthy man? So the idea, though, is when a person is wealthy, they don't really need God. I don't need God. I have my money. And so we've been sort of disproving that piece by piece. And we had 6 previous arguments against it. And we're going to have 7 tonight, 7 through 10. And then we'll move on from the alchemist theory. Again, this question of if you had a ton of money, what do you need faith for? And it sounds like a silly argument, but that's really kind of our society puts faith in money. I think a lot of people trust in the money that they put in the bank, right? They look at their portfolio, they look at the money that they've saved away, and they say, this is going to be my nest egg. This is going to be my security down the line. And the argument is that security. It's a responsibility. It's responsible to save money, and we ought to, but that's not where our security comes from, because we all see all around us so many examples of this. So let's give some more examples. Example number 7 was an alchemist but that money might not be able to buy his safety. So the example given is like an ancient example. Let's say you're in a city, you're a very wealthy person in a big city. And next thing you know, there's a siege. There's an enemy army that surrounds your city. That doesn't have to be ancient history. Let's say you're a very wealthy person in Ukraine today. Okay, it's the same thing. You have a ton of money, but in the old days, a siege, what would happen is the food would get more and more and more scarce. And he quotes Ezekiel and Zephaniah that Ezekiel says they threw their silver into the street because they couldn't buy any food. So they threw their silver into the street. Zephaniah says gold and their silver could not save them. So we're seeing it to a little bit of an extent with inflation, right? A person thinks, I work really hard, I can have all this money. And then you realize, the money can't buy me what I thought it was going to buy me anymore. It's like obviously a much lower level of this problem. But the real issue there is money can't buy you food if there's no food. So putting faith in money is not going to help when resources run out. But he says someone with faith, a HaBitachon, someone who trusts in God, shall never lack. As it says, Adonai roi lo echzar. God is my shepherd and I shall not lack. So when God is your shepherd, does it mean that you'll have food all the time? No, not necessarily. If you're in that city, you may not have food. But you are not going to lack because you know you're in Hashem's hands. You didn't have this false image of being strengthened and protected by your money. You've always believed, Hashem, I'm in your hands. You're going to give me a certain amount of time here. I'm praying that it's not painful. I'm praying that I live a long and happy life, but I'm in your hands. So I'm not going to lack. That is so it's interesting because it's not that it buys safe, but it buys tranquility. Bitachon buys tranquility. Your money can't buy you tranquility. Number 8, the Baal Kamia, the alchemist, may have to move around. Bless you.
Oh, my mute isn't on. Thank you. Sorry.
The alchemist might have to move around to find the resources he needs to do his work, or to find new customers to buy his goods. An example of this would be like a famous quarterback who's unbelievable. He's so good. But guess what? He lived 1 year in Boston, and then the next year he's living in Tampa Bay. Now that's not too shabby. If you want to like go towards retirement, Boston to Tampa Bay is actually pretty good. But he could end up back in Boston, so he could end up in godforsaken Cincinnati or Pittsburgh. Just kidding. So just because you're wealthy doesn't mean you're going to have tranquility. You might have to move around. Some artists, some movie stars, they don't even have a home life because they're constantly traveling to make their movies. And it doesn't lead to a tranquil life. Whereas if you have faith, you're totally grounded. And if you choose to stay put, you can stay put, right? If you're a person of faith, you don't abandon your ship. You stay with your community and you play your role, and you have a certain tranquility with that. That's another benefit of a person of faith over a person of infinite means or fame. Number 9, everybody following me? Number 9, right? This is like every time you're like get jealous of somebody with a lot of money or somebody who's famous, remind yourself you don't need a ton of money and you don't need fame. What you need is to be close with Hashem. That's what we all need. Being a Baal Kamia, an alchemist, can help you in this world. No question. Your money can help you in this world. But is it going to help you in the world to come? No. You can't bring it with you.
No.
There's a there's a famous, there's a story about this big wealthy philanthropist, and he passes away, and before they bury him, they see in his will, he has a big note in the will that it is his only desire that he should be buried in his favorite pair of socks. He wants to be buried in his favorite pair of socks. So, that's not traditional. Yeah, usually, if you're a traditional Jew, you're buried in the burial shroud that all Jews are buried in, and that's it. There's no fancy stuff that you put in. Well, the children said, well, listen, he wants to be buried in his socks. They go to the rabbi. And the rabbi's not like Rabbi Shapiro, who says yes to too many things. The rabbi's like a real serious, tough cookie rabbi. And he says, listen, it's not the halacha. He can't do it. You can't bury him in his socks. I know he wants to, but the halacha is you get buried in the shroud and that's it. So the kids say, what can we do? Nothing we can do about it. They beg him. They beg the rabbi. He says no. The funeral goes on, and they find the days go by, and they find a letter on his desk, and it says, "Open on my shloshim." Shloshim is 30 days, right? 30 days from the funeral. Open this letter at my shloshim. So they open the letter at the shloshim. They're all gathered around. They can't wait to hear what he has to say. And he says, my dear family and friends, by now it's 30 days since you didn't bury me in my socks. 30 days since you didn't bury me in my socks. And my lesson is as follows. You can be incredibly wealthy, but you can't even bring a pair of socks with you. You can't even take a pair of socks with you. And it's a beautiful lesson. I guess he knew that his rabbi was a hardline rabbi. Because I hope he wouldn't depend on Rabbi Shapiro for that. I'd probably be like, yeah, it sucks. Hashem, but that's really the purpose of that halacha, is that nobody should, the Bill Gates and Bill Schmo should be buried the exact same way, because when we leave this world, we don't take it with us. And that's like an amazing idea that the money, the fame helps in this world, but you can't take it with you to the world to come, as opposed to faith, HaBitachon, which helps you in this world, because as we've said, faith in this world gives you groundedness, it gives you tranquility, a sense of peace. Right, you're not like struggling because you're in Hashem's hands. You're not a victim of random fate, and it also obviously helps in the world to come. There's tremendous reward for a person of faith and mitzvos in the world to come. You take that with you. That's what you take with you: the kindness, the good deeds, the reputation you've created. Okay? So that was number 9. Fame and money only help in this world. HaBitachon, faith and trust in God, help in this world and in the world to come. 10. The alchemist will end up dead. And I don't mean from natural causes. Because alchemy, at the end of the day, it's really swindling. It's a hux. He's a counterfeiter. He's a counterfeiter. He's at best a magician, at worst a counterfeiter. And everybody knows that you can't really turn lead into gold or silver. So he's really just counterfeiting. And Hashem, he says, Hashem is going to let his secret out. That's an amazing thing. Hashem will let the secret out. How does he know that? How do you know that Hashem's? But like, look at all the scandals. Look at all the people who, look at all the mayors of Baltimore. Look at all the famous people who are riding so high, and then the scandal comes out and takes their whole life away from them. If you're doing something crooked, more often than not, Hashem will reveal it in some way or another. And what Rabbeinu Bachia says is, when it gets out that this guy's an alchemist and been swindling everybody with counterfeit gold and silver, somebody's going to kill him. It's like, right, it's like being the mafia boss. It sounds good. It all sounds good until you get whacked, right? And just even almost worse than the being killed is the embarrassment of these people that, you know, whatever it is, they bribe a college to get their kids in, or they did sexual, inappropriate things. You know, the Prince of England did some. I mean, it's like crazy. You brought shame on your whole family. You can't show your face in public anymore. What did your fame and your wealth get for you? There's a story about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. You know Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote Sherlock Holmes? The story goes, he was sitting in a pub with a friend, and he said, there's no such thing as a respectable person. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. Everybody is hiding things. Then the friend said, what are you talking about? There's so many people that are respectable people out there. So he said, tell me three. Name three people the most three respectable people in London. So the guy, his friend, names three names. And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle sent telegrams that only said, the matter is known, flee at once. He sent to them telegrams, the matter is known, flee at once. And guess what? By tomorrow, all three of them had left London. So you want to think of like somebody who's famous, who's big, and you know, there's got to be something that they're hiding, typically. And even if it doesn't come out, it's with you. It's a secret you're carrying with you, like a big bag of sand. So this is, and if you're not famous, if you're a regular stunk on the street, if you're not wealthy or famous, what does it matter? You did something. That's like it's like what's the play? Is it My Fair Lady, with like middle class morality or something? Where like once you're middle class, now you have to be held up to the standards. If you're like the lower class, you can do whatever you want and nobody cares. But once you're in the high class, then everybody's judging you, and you gotta go to church, and you gotta, right? Eliza Doolittle's deadbeat dad comes into some money, and then next thing you know, he's getting married in the morning because he can't be unmarried anymore. He's middle class. So that's like, you know, you're rich or you're famous, there's all kinds of scrutiny that comes with it. But bitachon, when it comes to faith, a person of faith, not only will Hashem protect you, but people will protect you. Like, my secret's going to get out. I'm a faithful person. I'm a person of faith. Do you think people look down on a person of faith? Even the criminals respect a person of faith. And people understand that a holy person, a person who walks with faith, they want to be around them. They believe that they're the world is they're around them is better because of them. So like people typically will elevate a person of faith, honor a person of faith, bless a person of faith, and they'll feel blessed by being in the vicinity of a person of faith. Right? And Judaism believes that. We believe that a faithful person, a holy person, a good person protects the people around them, protects their city. Like, the famous story of Lot. Remember Lot? Lot almost saved Sodom. But what happened is in the end, he flees and he goes to a city, and the city deserved to be destroyed. But the angel said, fine, so, Lot, you stay in this city, this one of the little cities, and it won't be destroyed. And everybody there, all the wicked people in that city got saved because of the righteous Lot. You ever remember with Sodom and Gomorrah, like the fire and brimstone from heaven? Well, Lot saved the city just by his presence. And I think that happens a lot, is righteous people bring good to the people around them. You don't have to bear a secret if you're righteous. You don't have to hide anything if you're a person of faith. So again, going back to that whole thing, if you're a famous person, you're under a lot of scrutiny. If you're a rich person, you're under a lot of scrutiny. But if you're a faithful person, you have nothing to hide.
So tight.
There's there's a Gemara in Brachos that says it that for all of us, right? When we act with mitzvos, when we act with bitachon, you are helping your community. When you act kind, you're bringing protection for your neighbors, for the people around you. Okay, any questions so far? No questions? Everyone's good? Okay. The next topic, so that was the alchemist. And the purpose, again, of bringing up the alchemist was just to kind of show us 10 different reasons why having faith, why having trust in God is much better than having infinite money or fame or these kind of things.
This goes with the other things.
Okay. What does a person, how does bitachon, trust in God, affect a person who's wealthy? Because there are a lot of people who are wealthy that have faith. It's not one or the other. If a person happens to be wealthy and they have faith, what does that look like? Throw something out there. Anybody have any thoughts?
Because I won't be used to finding it.
How do they relate to their money?
They're charitable.
They're charitable. Not only will they be charitable and do good things with their money, but they won't feel bad when they're charitable. I mean, a lot of wealthy people are charitable, but they might feel crappy when they give their money away. They might feel a twinge of like, oh, this guy's come to me again. Oh, why does it always bother me for my money? Right? Or they might feel like, where's my recognition? Where's my kavod? And a person with faith doesn't feel bad about giving their money to tzedakah or doing good things with it, and they don't act stingy. They fulfill their monetary obligations, he says. They fulfill their monetary obligations to Hashem and to people. So let's say there's a woman who's a wealthy woman who has Emunah, who has bitachon, faith in God. She's going to be giving tzedakah, and she's not going to feel like, oh, I'm such a good person. I gave tzedakah, I gave charity. I must be so kind. Because they don't see it as an act of kindness. And in fact, in Hebrew, tzedakah does not mean kindness. Chesed is kindness. Tzedakah actually comes from the word tzedek, which means justice, righteousness. Meaning it's right. It's the right thing to do. a person with faith realizes the right thing to do is to give charity, is to give tzedakah. And if I don't give it, I'm not doing the right thing. It's not like, oh, in a pure state of things, I can keep all my money, I keep it all for myself, and that's totally fine. So I'm going to be over and above kind and give some of this away, right? That's the paradigm for in the regular like world, is a person like, all my money is my money to keep, and I could go and spend it on vacations and on fancy cars, and some people do. And if I'm going to give charity, it's because I'm such a kind person. But a person of faith doesn't believe that. A person of faith believes Hashem has given me this money, and part of my duty is to give some of it away. And so I'm not going to feel bad that I gave it away, or desire for a ton of attention and gratitude when I give it away.
That just goes over.
And it's the same thing with other things that cost money for God, like kosher food. Some people say, oh, kosher food, it's so expensive. Day school tuition. How could I pay a day school tuition? I mean, it's, you know, if you can't pay a day school tuition, I understand. It's some people can't afford it. But the idea of agonizing over the money you lost by paying the day school tuition, right? That's, a person of faith doesn't agonize over that. They say, this Hashem gave me this money. Hashem let me earn this money in order to get my kids this education, or to, how about synagogue dues? How about shul dues? Same kind of thing. Giving money to the synagogue. It won't be like, oh, I don't want to give it. Oh, okay. Right? It's like, okay, I have money and I want to put it where it's supposed to go. And it's true also in the way we treat people with money. If you have faith, you're not holding tight to your wad of cash, so you'll repay your debts, right? You won't feel bad about paying back what you borrowed, because that's the right thing to do. And you won't feel bad about getting gifts for people or giving tips. I think that's a big one. Tips, right? Like tipping people. It's an opportunity to give the money that Hashem gave to you, to give it to other people who have helped you. Help them. It just makes you a more generous person. What I'm saying is faith creates generosity. Faith breeds generosity. It's the attitude that the money that I have in my bank account is not my money. Hashem made a deposit with me, and it's Hashem's money. And guess what? If a person with faith loses their money, they say, Hashem, thanks for depositing it with me, and thanks for taking it back. I appreciate the time that you let me hold on to it and the good things that I did with it. It goes that far. It goes that far. Can you imagine? Like, but you know, some people, they have a bad day in the market and they're upset. They're visibly upset. Their stomach's churning. But a person with faith says, it wasn't my money to begin with. Hashem has deposited this money with me at this time. There's an interesting Torah about Meiser Behema. In the days of the temple, people would give Meiser Behema, meaning of all the new animals in their flock, if all the animals in their flock, they would give every year 1/10. So what's the easiest way to figure out 1/10? Just count all the animals, divide by 10, and count out that amount and separate them out. But let's say you have 1,000 sheep, right? And you realize, oh my gosh, I gotta give away 100 sheep. It's a lot of sheep. You get very upset about that. So the way the Torah has us doing it, there's a very specific procedure for Meiser Behema. You put them all in a pen with a narrow corral to another pen, and you pass them through one by one, and you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you make a mark on the 10th one. 1, 2. Why count them all like that? And the answer is because if you do that, you see that there's 9 for you. You're counting 9 for you, and the 10th one doesn't feel so bad because you realize 9 of them Hashem's giving to you. So that's if a person's wealthy. When a person has money and they have faith, it helps them have a healthy relationship with their money. Let's say they're poor. There's plenty of people that have faith that are plenty poor. So what's the poor person's attitude when they have faith? What's their attitude on money?
God's going to provide. And don't worry, God's going to provide if they're very,
Yeah, meaning Hashem's going to provide what I need.
Yeah.
And not only that, but he's happy. He's happy that he's not wealthy. Thank you, Hashem, for not giving me all the trials and tribulations that the wealthy people have. I'm so happy that I don't have to entertain and constantly have these people coming and asking me for money or having to be such a macher. Thank you for not making me have to be such a macher. I get to relax. Thank you, Hashem, for not having me have to worry about the stock market. If you don't have any money in the stock market, you don't care what's going on, right? This is, oh my God, there's going to be an invasion of Ukraine. Oh, the stock market. If you don't have any money in the stock market, guess what you're not worried about? Anything, So you thank Hashem for making your life easier. And just say, what's the purpose of money? I want to put food on the table. I want to feed myself and my family. That's what I need money for. Joy, did you have a question?
Yeah, or a comment. I get with what you're saying and agree, but I have to say this, that while money doesn't buy happiness, not having money can buy unhappiness.
Yes,
for the record.
Yeah, I think that's true because, we have a certain expectation of how things should look in our life. And, we're not going to be happy being out on the street. So you'd have to have an incredible amount of faith to be okay with a situation where you just can't even put a roof above your head, right?
And you can't give money to other people. You can't give money either. You can't. Not only are you not taking care of yourself, but there are other sort of social obligations that one might want to meet that fall short.
Yes. So I would say there are limits to this argument, especially in our lives where, I think in the old world, a person could just be fine being a pauper and really having nothing, and they have Hashem and they have peace with that. But in today's world, it's much harder to live like that. It's not as simple as maybe it was back in the old days. So maybe and maybe the point is above a certain threshold, meaning as long as God gives you the money to put food on the table, which means you have a table, or you have food, clothing, shelter, as long as you have those 3 things, then everything else is extra. It really is extra. And the benefit is that you don't really have to worry about all these things. You don't have to keep track of your money. Every year I get so annoyed that I have to go through all my papers and do taxes. Like, what a pain in the tuchus to do taxes. But if a person's not, the people who don't have a lot of money, guess what they look forward to? They love taxes because they're going to get money. They like taxes is the best possible thing. That means money's going to come. The government's going to give them money.
They
So,
hope.
so it's it's another example of that. It's just there's a lot of concerns and stress that come hand in hand with managing money. So a person with faith might say, well, I don't have a lot of money, but at least that's saved me from some of the worries that people with money have. And it says that in Pirkei Avos, it says marba nechasim marba daiga, which means as you increase your belongings, you increase your worries. The more, the more bathrooms you have, the more toilets get clogged. The more cars you have, the more they break down. So, the more things you have, it's the more things that you have to worry about. And of course, the famous line also from Pirkei Avos, Ezehu Asher, who is rich, Hasameach Bechelko, the person who's happy with what they have. True wealth is when you're happy with what you have. So like we were saying with joy, is that money, really, what's the purpose of money? To sustain oneself and one's family, to put a shelter over your head, to get clothing, to get a few of the things that you want, and everything else is just a number that you feel like, oh my goodness, this is so important, this is so important. And ultimately, very often, people who work really hard to build up that number, they leave this world and they give it all to some charity, right? Like they acted like it was all theirs. And I mean, it's a nice thing that they give it to a charity, but like this whole time they've been worrying about it and trying to build the number up, get it higher. Right? There's a certain futility to wealth. If it's any more than just being responsible and providing for yourself, and on the other hand, like wealth, if you have the right mindset, which is like, God, help me increase this wealth so I can do what you want me to do with it. In Mishlei, right, wealth shouldn't be a distraction. In Mishlei, it says, Mishlei is Proverbs. Sweet is the sleep of the laborer, but the rich man sleeps poorly. The guy who works, a 10-hour day, 8-hour day, schlepping, goes home, has a beer, watches some TV, and sleeps good. The person who's running the big business, if they don't have bitachon, they go home and they're worried about it. They're stressed out. This happened in the business today. That happened in the business today. Can you believe this customer? Do you believe that this happened? Right? There's all this stress that they're holding on to. Where the labor, but it also, if you don't have bitachon, there's laborers that act like the boss. There's people who don't have bitachon, they come home and they're complaining about what happened at their job. It's not they're there to do a job and get paid per hour. They don't own stock in the company, so why are they worried? That's the benefit of being a laborer. You go home and you don't have to worry about a thing. And there's some bosses who have bitachon, and they go home, and even if it was a bad day, they lost a big deal. That stays at the office. It stays at the office because I'm now in the most important part of my life. I'm with my family. I'm relaxed. I'm at home. I'm going to leave the work at work, even if I'm the boss. It's in Hashem's hands, right? If I lost the big deal, guess what? Who determined that? Hashem determined that. Wasn't meant to be. I did my best. Or alternatively, I didn't do my best. Next time, I'll do my best and I'll get the deal. Right? Either I did my best and Hashem didn't want it to be, or I didn't do my best and next time I'll do my best. But I'm not going to stress about not getting the deal. If a person doesn't trust in Hashem, their money will be a snare. Their money will pull them further and further from bitachon, from trust in Hashem and spirituality. Because that's just the nature of it, is when a person doesn't have a healthy attitude towards their money rules over them and makes them less and less of a kind and spiritual person. The money really becomes all they think about. So it's not, money is not benign. It's either you have a positive relationship with money, a wise and spiritual relationship with the money, or it's going to be some kind of weird, unhealthy relationship, some kind of lust for money, or feeling like you never have enough, right? Or hiding it away, right? You see all kinds of weird behavior around money. And so the faith is really important because it keeps a healthy attitude when it comes to money. For a lot of people, like we said earlier, if you don't have faith, then your money really becomes your God, right? If you don't trust in God, everyone trusts in something. And so if you're not trusting in God, guess what you're trusting in? That's why they put it on the dollar, because just to remind you, don't trust in the dollar. In God we trust. In God we trust. Every time you think it's because you have the money. Oh, I'm okay. I got all the money. It's God that really is our security. Money is, like I said, money is a deposit with us, and it's not ours. We're just the bank. We're holding on to it for God. So we don't find our identity through our money. It's not ours. I am not rich. I am not poor. I am a servant of Hashem, no matter where I am, no matter what the number in my account is. I'm a servant of Hashem, and I'm going to try to do good things with the money. That's the correct attitude. That's the proper attitude. Because people really do, like, they end up like deluding themselves when they're rich often. There's like a story about a rich man who became poor, right? A rich person became poor. And he said, I understand now that I'm poor, I understand why they stopped coming to me for money. But I don't understand, why did they stop coming to me for all my advice? Like, he really thought he was a big chacham, that everybody just wanted to seek out his advice. You know? And again, the same kind of thing when it comes to recognition. And I know there's a big part, there's a place for it. I'm a fundraiser. Part of my role is a fundraiser. So I understand you got to give recognition. That's a big part for people. But the more Emunah and bitachon a person has, the less their need for recognition is. The less that they don't want praise or thanks. They're grateful to help. They're grateful that they were able to help Hashem by doing this kindness. Right? I mean, it's a crazy attitude. But I've heard like tzedakah collectors who tell themselves that they say before they go to raise money, they remind themselves, I'm not begging, I'm doing this person a favor. I'm helping this person distribute money that Hashem gave to them to a good cause. I'm opening up a pathway for them to invest this money in a good cause. So I'm the one doing them a favor. The fundraiser, I think that's a little bit of a a little bit of a jump. I don't know that I go that far, but like, yeah, I mean, I say that, like, when somebody comes and asks me for tzedakah, at the end they say thank you, and I'll say thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this mitzvah. Like that's how it should be. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this mitzvah. So that is my spiel on faith and money. Anybody have any examples or anything that they've seen when it comes to their own lives, about how their faith or moments of lack of faith have affected their attitude towards money?
Jane, I just want to say there was an article in the Post, the Washington Post, that I saw recently about the Jewish man in his 70s who started out, typical Brooklyn immigrant family. And now he's like one of the top, billionaire class. And he spends his day watching like literally in a day, he makes millions. And it sounds like it's a burden to him to try to figure out how to give it away. He's joined the Gates. I mean, it wasn't that he didn't want to give it away, but it really sounded as I read the article, and he's a humble guy, drives a regular car, and, but it's really hard. It was really, it's not that I felt sorry for him, but it was such an odd thing to read about that life. And yet I didn't get the sense that he was like invested in how he was giving. He just was so busy trying to figure out, who's going to get this million and who's going to get that million. It's not the kind of life I would want to live.
Right.
And at the same time, all I can think of is how, on the one hand, you want to think that, like Joy said, that, I mean, you have to be pretty wealthy to send your kids to day school. I know because I work with day schools. Not everybody can do that. With, a simple laborer would have a really hard time supporting the Jewish community in the way that the community would hope people would support it. So these are difficult challenges. And I know that there are people who, having worked in synagogues and, the people that would say, oh, I can't afford to send my kid to this summer camp. And that they can. And so they would apply for a scholarship when there were other people who wouldn't even ask for the scholarship and they can't afford it, but you'd love to give it to them. So these are the dilemmas that are really interesting, that are really problems for our contemporary Jewish community. Just some comments.
Yeah.
I also think we have to thank God when we become fortunate. Money comes and goes, but your lifestyle of your family and your friends, that's always there. So money really does come and go, as we heard tonight. But you have to give back because you have to thank God for what he's given you. So you have to give back, whether it's the percentage, whether it's putting a child to camp that you don't even know, or sending somebody to Hebrew school or whatever, it entails that makes you feel good to, to do a giving thing for somebody outside of your family. But I also believe that when you have a lot of money, when you're fortunate and you have children, sometimes in life, it's not really better to wait till you die. It's better to share it and to let them explain that working hard and doing the right things and living, if we're just talking about a Jewish life, and living a Jewish life, that you'll be rewarded. You'll be rewarded. So, like money doesn't, for me, I came from a fortunate family, and money doesn't control me. A lot of people, it controls them. They're a slave to it. And God doesn't want you to be a slave to it. Doesn't want you to be a slave to it. So.
Right.
Yeah.
My grandparents, Shalom, my grandmother used to talk about wanting to give with warm hands, not cold. And she used to derive the pleasure from giving with warm hands. And it's a great concept.
Yeah.
And part of the concept is because she gets to see the fruits of what she did. If you wait until you die, you don't even get to see it.
Right.
And the pleasure you get from being able to help somebody is enhanced when you get to see it.
Absolutely.
I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and thank you, Alex and Jane and Ruth and Sarah Lee and Joan. And even though we didn't see you, you guys look great. Your names look great. And to all my friends who I can see, Mark and Jackie and Joy and Sheila and Jeff. Oh, there's Jane. There's Sarah Lee. Hi, you guys. You guys should just have bracha and faith. Just feel Hashem. You should have the blessing of feeling Hashem near you and talking to him, and feeling that you're in God's hands. You have a mission to do here, and every day is a new day to do that mission. So looking forward to seeing you in a month. Next session, I believe it's on the 22nd of March, and we will continue the study. Yeshar Koach, everyone.
Yeshar Koach, Rabbi, thank you.
Correct. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.